Hello everyone. Today I will be taking you through the basics of creating a new ASP.NET web application using Microsoft Visual Studio. When we start Microsoft Visual Studio, we have two options to create a new project, either from the start page that is automatically opened when you start Visual Studio, or you can go to File, New, and select a project. So if we do so, then we will get the following new project window. In this one, you have to make sure that you select Visual C# because this is the programming language we will be using, and select web projects, and from that you move to the second window where you select ASP.NET web application. Every application you create should have a name. To name an application, you have to give it a name that is meaningful. So since today this will be our first application, I will name it my first app. So this is the name of your application, and this will be automatically set as the solution name too. Also, you have the option to change the location. Where is this application stored? By default, Visual Studio will store your application under this folder. You can always browse to a different location and store it there. Once you finish from these settings, you'll click OK, and it will direct you to the second window. In this window, you have the option to select what type of project you want to start. For the moment, we would like to start with an empty project, with an empty web application where we can later on add web forms to this application. So you select empty and then click on OK. It will take a few seconds to load. Once it opens, you will see the following. So this is our project, the one we created. So as you can see here on the right hand side, this is our solution explorer that will show us the different files that exist at the moment and the different projects. For the time being, we have only one project, which is my first app. This is the one we created, and this project is empty. If you remember, we selected an empty web application. So if we want to add a new web form to our project, then all you need to do is to right click on the project name and then select add, and either select web form or a new item. So if you select a web form, this will automatically ask you to enter the name of your web form, and to start with, we can create a default web page. So this will be the first web page. When you click on OK, you see that the Solution Explorer has now one more file. This is the one we just created, and this is the web form. And this web form has the name default.aspx. If you look at the page, this is our default.aspx page. We have the option to view the source, which is the current view, or we can switch to the design mode. Currently our web page is empty, or you can always split where you can write code and see the result in the same window. So if we go to the source, as you can see, this is a normal HTML file for the moment. If you look at the top of the page, you see a page directive where it specifies the language that we will be using. This is C#, and it will specify also where is our source code. So this is by default the default.aspx.cs file. You can access this file either by right-clicking on the web page and selecting View Code, or you can go to the Solution Explorer and expand the default.aspx and double-click on default.aspx.cs. So this will be our source code. So let's start designing our web form. To add items to your web form, or to add controls to your web form, you need to use the toolbox. In case you did not see the toolbox opened on the left hand side, you can go to View and select any window you would like to open. So here is the tool Here is our toolbox. You can see we also have the properties window. We also have the solution explorer in addition to many other windows. So in case any of these windows are missing, view is the menu item that you need to open in order to get these back. So this will be our main form. To add controls to this web form, all you need to do is to drag and drop any of these controls that you have. As you can see, controls are categorized. They are grouped into certain categories depending on what you want to do. We will start with the basics. These are the standard controls that exist in most of the web pages. So I would like to start with adding a table to organize the controls in our page. So I drag and drop the table into the work area. So if you want then to add, every table is composed of rows and columns. So we would like to design this table this way. To start typing, then you can select the options available. These options depend on where you want to add them. So now I am in the table, and a table usually is composed of rows and columns. So here I can either select a header row, a footer row, or a normal table row. A header row would be like a title for your table. A footer row would be like a footer at the bottom of your table, and a row is a normal row in every table. So if you like, we can start with adding a header row where we will add a title for our table, and then we will continue with adding more rows to the table. So once you select this, you will see that the tag is opened and closed at the same time. This is done automatically by Visual Studio. When you click enter and open again, so you will see the options now available. So as you notice, the options changed now because it depends on the location of the tag. So now we have either the option to create a normal table cell or a table header cell. Since we are in the header row, so we will create a table header cell. Again, the tag will be opened and closed. You can either type the properties you like for this, and you will see the IntelliSense from Visual Studio. It will show you all the available properties that you can use, or alternatively you can go to the properties window where you will see all the available properties, and you can change these properties and modify it the way you want. So for the moment I would like only to add a text for our cell, text that will be displayed in that cell. So let's say we will be creating today a registration form, so I would write registration form. Once you click on enter, you will see that the changes are automatically reflected to your source code. So we are done with the header row. We'll continue with adding more rows to our table. So again, if we open the tag, you will see that now we have again the three options for rows. So today, now we will start with a table row. We're done with the header, so you will select a table row. Again, we'll open, so we have the option to add either a table cell or a table header cell. We'll select the table cell and hit enter. So this is a registration form, and as you know, every registration form contains multiple fields where the user maybe enters some data or selects some data. Today we will give the user the option to enter some information. So as any other registration form, users usually enter their names, addresses, email addresses, or passwords, usernames, etc. To do so, to allow the user to enter data, then the default option will be adding text boxes. So if you drag and drop a text box, this is what you get. So from now on, all the controls that we will be adding to our web form, we need to change their IDs or their names, because these will be used in the source code. And to uniquely identify these controls, we need to change their names. And in naming our controls, we need to follow a certain convention, a way to name our controls, and you have to be consistent throughout the project. So for example, one way of naming this, if I will be using this text box to enter the first name, so I would name it first name, and since it's a text box, I would add at the end of the name txt, which stands for text box. So this way, by reading the name of the control, I would easily know that this is a text box and that this text box is used to enter the first name of the user. So we can also display a message inside the text box to tell the user what are we expecting in this text box. So it's either we add a label, and this label will display only enter your first name or first name, or we can use the placeholder property, which is available here. So placeholder would simply display a message inside the text box, and once you click in the text box, this message would automatically disappear. So we can say enter your first name. Okay, so to continue and to add more rows, you either continue by typing, or you can simply copy and paste. Copy this complete row and paste it a couple of times. You notice that every time you paste, then Visual Studio will change the name or the ID of that control, because you are not allowed to have two controls with the same name. So this we will change later. So I will paste again, and now we will have 4 fields in our form, or 4 text boxes. So let's change the names of these text boxes. The first name, then the second one will be last name, again txt, and we will change the message to enter your last name. To improve the visibility inside your work area, you can always choose to auto hide the window, so you will have a better view for the source code. So for the third box, maybe we want to ask the user to enter his or her age, and we will name it age.txt and enter your age, and the last one will be email.txt, and the message will be enter your email. So as I said at the beginning, that you can switch between source and design. So if we go to the design now, we will see that this is our table. This is how the table looks like at the moment. To finish this, we will need also a button. So usually when you have a registration form, you would like to do something with this data entered by the user. Either you store it in a database or you send it somewhere else. For this activity, we will not be doing anything special with the data, but we need to make it feel like a new registration form. So I will copy again this row and then paste it 1 time, 2 times. So in this one, instead of the text box, I don't need a text box, I need a button. So this button will be used to submit the data entered by the user, and in the last one, I would like to display a message just to tell the user that we received the information. So usually messages are displayed in labels. Also we drag and drop a label here. Again, we need to change the names of these 2 controls. So a button, since it is a submit button, so I would name it submit, and because it's a button, I would append a btn to the end of the name, and the text will be submit. This is the text to be displayed in. As to the label, this label will be used to display a message, so we would name it message, again LBL, which is a shortcut for the label, and for the time being the label has no text to display. This text will be processed later, so we can delete the text of this label. So finally, every button should have some functionality. So whenever we click on the button, this is the default event for a button. So whenever we click on the button, we would like to run some piece of code. To do so, we have to tell the program this. So in order to tell the program that we want to run some code whenever the user clicks on the button, then you have to use the onClick property and equal. Here you can give the name of the event handler that will run whenever we click on the button. So you can give, of course, any name. If this is our submit button, then I would name it submit_click. I named it so because this is the button and this is the event we are handling here. So it means whenever we click on the button, I would like to run something. Okay, I believe now we are ready to run and test our application. To do so, you have the play button here where you can select which browser you want to test your application in, or you can select Ctrl F5. So this will run your application, and yes, we have a compilation error. So the compilation error is the result of this one here, because we told the program that we would like to run this, or we would like to call this method submit_click whenever the user clicks on the submit button, but we did not add this anywhere, and this is not accepted by the program. So what we need to do, we need to go and add this submit_event handler, and the right place to do so is our source code. If you remember, our source code is the default.aspx.cs file. Either you can access this from the Solution Explorer, or you can always right click inside the web page and select View Code. Here we have all the functionality for the page, so you can write any piece of code you want. For the time being, we have only the page load event handler. This means whatever code you write here will run whenever you load your page. So we can copy this and paste it again, but we need to change the name of the method, of course. So our method would be submit_click. So this name should match the name we specified here in the onClick event. Okay, so let's try now. Ctrl F5. This should run our application. As you can see, we have now the registration form. Okay, so as you noticed, we have here the messages inside the text boxes that will tell us what are we expecting in these fields. So whenever you click inside the text box, these messages will disappear. This is the placeholder property. So you can enter data here, and once you finish, you can click on the submit button. Of course, for the time being, we have no functionality because we did not write anything in that button. So this will be doing in later videos. Okay, I believe now this gave you a good introduction for how to create a new web application. I think now you can go on and add as many controls as you want. You can go on and design the form the way you like. You can also change in the properties of your form. Try to change all of these properties or some of these properties so you can change the way your form look and feel. That's it for the moment. I'll be seeing you soon.